Welcome back to Webslesson. This is part 6 of our Laravel 13 and Filament 5 Inventory Management System series. Now, before we start, let me quickly recap what we did in the previous part. In part 5, we built the unit management module using the exact same Filament 5 resource pattern. There, we had a simple to-field form and a table that showed how many products were using each unit. So, by now, our master data group already has two working modules, categories and units. Now, in this part, we are going to add a third module to that same group. We are going to build the Supplier Management Module. Here, a supplier is any vendor or company that we purchase our stock from. So, this module will store their name, email, phone number and address. Alright, let's get started. In this part, we will create a filament resource for our suppliers table. Now, this module is a little more detailed than units, since suppliers have more fields to manage. Next, we will build a form with name, email, phone, address, and a status toggle. After that, we will build a table that lists every supplier, along with their contact details and a purchase count. Then, we will bring back something we skipped in part 5, and that is table filters. So, this time, we will filter suppliers by their active status. Finally, we will add edit, delete, and bulk delete actions exactly like our previous modules. So, let's start by generating the resource using an artisan command. Open your terminal and run the make filament resource command followed by the word supplier and the generate flag. Once this command runs, it creates the supplier resource file along with the schemas folder, the tables folder, and the pages folder. Because of that, since we already understand this structure from parts 4 and 5, this will feel very familiar again. Now, let's open the supplier model file inside the app models folder. Here, we set the fillable fields as name, email, phone, address, and status. Next, we cast the status field as Boolean, so it always behaves as true or false. Then, we define a purchases relationship, which returns has many purchase. This relationship is what will let us count how many purchase orders belong to each supplier later in our table. Now, let's open the main supplier resource file. At the top, we write our namespace, and then we import everything we need. First, we import our create supplier, edit supplier, and list suppliers page classes. Next, we import our supplier form and suppliers table classes. Then, we import the supplier model along with backed enum and unit enum. Finally, we import the base resource class, the schema class, and the table class. Now, inside the class, we set the model property to supplier. Next, we set the navigation icon using a simple string Heroicon O truck. Here, a truck icon makes perfect sense for suppliers since they are the ones delivering stock to us. After that, we set the navigation group to master data, so this resource groups together with categories and units. Then, we set the navigation label to suppliers. Here is something important. We set the navigation sort to 3. Because of that, since categories uses sort 1 and units uses sort 2, setting suppliers to 3 makes sure it appears right below units inside the master data group. Next, we set the record title attribute to name. Now, inside the form method, we simply return our supplier form class. Then, inside the table method, we simply return our suppliers table class. Finally, inside get pages, we register our index, create, and edit routes. Now, let's move to our form file inside the schemas folder. This file controls every single field that appears when someone creates or edits a supplier. So, we start by wrapping our fields inside a section component and we label it supplier information. Next, inside this section, we add our first field, a text input for supplier name. Here, we chain the label method onto it and set the label to supplier name. Then, we add a helpful placeholder, like ABC Trading Company, so users understand exactly what to type. After that, we mark this field as required and we set a max length of 255 characters. Now, here is something new in this part. We chain column span full onto this field. Because of that, the supplier name field stretches across the entire width of the form instead of sharing space with another field. Next, we move to our second field, a text input for email address. Here, we add a placeholder, like supplier@example.com. Then, we chain the email method onto this field. Once this is ready, Filament automatically validates that whatever is typed here looks like a real email address. After that, we set a max length, and we also chain the unique method pointing to the supplier model and the email column. So, this makes sure no two suppliers can ever share the same email address in our system. Now, we move to our third field, a text input for phone number. Here, we add a placeholder showing a sample phone number format. Then, we chain the tell method onto it, which tells Filament this field expects a telephone number. Next, we set a max length of 20 characters, which comfortably fits any phone number format. Now, for our fourth field, we switch to a completely different component called TextArea for the address. Here, we use TextArea instead of text input because an address usually needs multiple lines to write comfortably. Then, we set the placeholder to enter full address and we set the number of visible rows to 3. After that, we also chain column span full onto this field, so the address box stretches across the full width, just like the name field. Finally, we add our toggle field for active status, exactly the same pattern we used in category and unit, defaulting to true, with success green and danger red colors. So, once all 4 fields are in place, we close the schema array and set the section to display into columns. Because of that, email and phone will sit side by side, while name, address, and status each take up the full row. Now, let's move to our table file inside the tables folder. This file controls everything we see on the list page. So, we start with our first column, which shows the supplier name. Here, we make it searchable and sortable, exactly like our previous modules. Next, we add our second column for email. Here, we make it searchable as well. Then, we chain the default method onto it and pass a dash. Because of that, if a supplier does not have an email saved, the table shows a clean dash instead of leaving an empty blank space. After that, we chain the icon method onto this column and pass heroicon o envelope. So, now every email address in the table shows a small envelope icon right beside it, which makes the column instantly recognizable at a glance. Now, we add our third column for phone, and we follow the exact same pattern, searchable, a default dash, and this time a phone icon beside it. Next, we add our fourth column called purchases. Here, we use the counts method and pass in our purchases relationship name. Once this is ready, this column automatically shows how many purchase orders exist for each supplier. Then, we display discount as a badge, colored info blue, which makes it stand out clearly from the plain text columns. Now, we add our fifth column, the status toggle, exactly the same pattern we used before, letting us activate or deactivate a supplier with a single click. Finally, we add our sixth column, created at, hidden by default, just like in our previous tables. Now, here is something we bring back in this part, filters. So, we add a select filter for status with two options, active and inactive. Because of that, users can now instantly narrow down the supplier list to only show active or only inactive suppliers. Next, we add our row actions, edit and delete, followed by a bulk action group with delete bulk action inside it. Finally, we set the default sort order to show the newest suppliers first. Now, let's quickly set up our 3-page files. First, the Create Supplier page saves a new supplier and redirects back to the list page with a success notification. Next, the Edit Supplier page updates an existing supplier and includes a delete action in its header. Then, the List Suppliers page displays our table and includes a Create button labeled New Supplier in its header. So, once again, these 3 files follow the exact same pattern we have used in every module so far. Now, let's test everything in the browser. Open your browser and visit the admin panel. In the sidebar, under Master Data, you will now see 3 links, Categories, Units, and right below them, Suppliers. Click on Suppliers, and you will see an empty table, ready for our first entry. Next, click the New Supplier button. Type a supplier name, add an email address, add a phone number, and add an address in the text area. Make sure the status toggle is turned on and click Save. You will see a success notification and your new supplier will appear in the table. Let's quickly add 2 or 3 more suppliers using different names and contact details. Now, go back to the list page and you will see each supplier with their small envelope and phone icons next to the contact details. Notice the purchases column currently shows 0 for all of them, since we have not created any purchases yet. That number will automatically update once we start building the purchase module later in this series. Next, try the status filter and switch between active and inactive suppliers. Then, try turning off the status toggle directly in the table for one supplier and watch the filter update accordingly. So, everything is working exactly as expected. This completes part 6 of our Laravel 13 and Filament 5 Inventory Management System series. Now, our master data group has 3 working modules: categories, units, and suppliers, each with full create, read, update, and delete functionality. In the next part, part 7, we will build the Customer Management Module. This module will follow the exact same structure as suppliers: name, email, phone, address, and status, since customers and suppliers share a very similar shape. So, that part should move even faster, since you will already be very familiar with this entire pattern by then. If you found this video helpful, please like this video and subscribe to Webslesson. The link to part 7 will be in the description below. I will see you in the next video.